Hello everyone, welcome to this demo on how to create a composite using several images and with the technique of masking in Photoshop. So you're going to need several things to make this work. The first thing that you're going to need is a camera, you're going to need a tripod, and some device that will allow you to trigger the camera from far away or have a camera that has the capability of using the self timer. So you're probably going to need a self timer of the 10 seconds. Some cameras have 2 seconds, but you want to make sure that you have enough time so you can walk in front of the camera. If you don't have a tripod, then you're going to need to place the camera on a table or a chair, somewhere that is secure and it won't move on you while you're pressing the shutter. You can even try to put some tape to make sure that the camera won't move. And you want a sturdy surface. You don't want to do it like on a couch or anything like that the camera might move on you. So you want to make sure that it's very sturdy, the camera, and you want to make sure that the camera is set on manual. You have your white balance set to manual, so that way you can decide what is going to be the color temperature so it doesn't change on you. And you want to make sure that you focus on the scene and then you set the lens to manual. Okay, so you need to follow all those steps. Now that you have that, let me show you what I did. The first image that you're going to take is basically the background image, nothing in it. And this is basically like a safety image that you're going to use in case you need to bring something from the original scenario. You have something that's empty. Okay, so that's like a safety net. Then you're going to start placing yourself in the location in several places. If you want to make your life easier, you want to make sure that you don't overlap with yourself. But in this case, I went all over the place and I did a bunch of me in different positions. Okay, and you have to make sure that the exposure doesn't change or nothing gets moved. Later on, you're going to see that there are a couple of things that move, but you can work around it. You just don't want any major movement from the camera or the objects around the location. So now that I have all the pictures here, I'm going to show you what we're going to do in Photoshop. Okay, so the first thing would be to import them into Photoshop. And to do that, I'm going to go up here to File in Photoshop. And I'm going to go to Script and then Load Files into Stack. So this one right here, okay? Load Files into Stack. What that's going to do is it's going to allow us to browse the computer, okay, under Files. And you're going to navigate to where the pictures are, okay? So I'm going to go all here. I already have selected the group of pictures that I want to do. And I'm going to press Shift and to the last one and click Open. So what that's going to do is it's going to put all those images into one document. You can do it by dragging one by one into the document, but since I have so many, I'm just going to do it this way. But you can feel free to like open, if you have like only 5, then it's just easy to just drag them over to a document. But this case, what it's doing right now, you can see right here, it just loaded all my pictures into one document. And that's going to be very useful because I'm going to be able to work quickly into Photoshop without having to worry to drag images on back and forth from the document. Okay, so now that I have all my images here, I want to move my background to the bottom. Okay, and that's going to reveal my first picture. Okay, which is this one right here. There's no right or wrong order to this. The one thing I definitely want to do is the images that cover other images, I want them on the top. So this one I don't think is covering any image, so I'm going to move it to the bottom. This one is not covering any image either, so I'm going to move it to the bottom right here. I'm just dragging this and letting it go when I see the location that highlights where I want it. This one overlaps an image, so I'm actually going to leave this one on the top. I'm going to hide the visibility. This one is behind it. You can see that that one was behind that one, so that one can stay there. This one is fine if it stays there. Actually, this one, I think there might be the one of the shoes above it, so I'm going to bring it down here. This one doesn't have anything either on top, so I'm going to move that one there. That one is, that's a background, so I can leave that one there. And let's see this one. What is that one right here? Okay, so I'm going to start right here now. I think now I can make a good start. So this one that's on top, I'm going to also move it to the bottom right here. Okay, I'm going to explain why in a little bit. I'm going to start with this one. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this image right here, which is that one, right? And now I'm going to press Option in my keyboard and click on the mask. When I do that, it's basically going to hide where I was. And I like it that way because I can see the other image that's underneath, and it will give me a preview of where that at. I know that I'm here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting with white to reveal it. So I'm going to make sure that I have my brush selected, which is right here, B for brush, okay? And then you want to make sure that you have white on the top. And you want to make sure also that on the top you have the opacity set to 100, okay? And the flow also. So that way you can use your brush how it's supposed to behave for this, which you're painting on the black mask right here. So remember, black conceals and white reveals. So I'm going to go ahead and reveal that. Let me see, I'm here on the mask. And I'm going to make sure that the opacity is all the way up. So now that I have the opacity up, I can go right here and you'll see that I start to appear. Now, this is one of the things I wanted to point out. When I sat here for one of the pictures, I moved the pillow there, and you can see that it's overlapping. I'm not going to worry too much about that because right now the only thing I want is to make this guy visible right here. So once I have that, okay, then I can go ahead and play around with the details. So I have that right there. Now I can zoom in, okay, and I'm going to make my brush smaller. And then I'm going to do the opposite. Instead of having white on the foreground, I'm going to flip it right here, or you can press X, and then you can go ahead and start painting this part. So that way you can get rid of it. Okay. I'm going to do it a little bit smaller. Now the part that's going to be hard is here, right? Because it's going to be next to my shoulder right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it really small so I can work better. And as I go to the edge, I'm not going to take, I'm not going to make this image perfect because this is just a demo, but just so you can get the idea of what you need to do. So that's my first one. Now I have two, right? Because it has that one on the top and then the one that's underneath, which is this one. Now I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to do the same thing because I basically don't want to start using the entire background for everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the mask anyway to that one, right? I hold Option, so it's black, and I'm going to go ahead, and I knew I was here, right? And if you forget where you are, you can press Control and you click on the mask and you can disable it just so you can remember where it was. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm right here. And I can go ahead and enable layer mask. Okay, and then you can go ahead, and another trick that you can do is if you double click here, oh, not there. If you make the properties panel open right here, you can also lower the density so you can see a little bit where you are. That can also help you, right? So if I lower the density, what it does is basically instead of being black, it lowers to a gray. So that way you can see where you are, and that way you can make sure that you're painting where you need to be. Okay, so that's another way that you can basically see where you are. Now, once I go here to this detail, I want to go back to the density to 100 because I want to make sure I see well what I'm doing. So I'm going to zoom in. That's the best way of doing it. You want to zoom in, and then you start painting this area right here. And as I get close, I have to, you see my brush, it's getting smaller with the left bracket key. I'm making that smaller so I don't, make the brush bigger, because if not, it will be too soft and you don't have control. So I have a trick here. If you click and then you hold Shift and you go to the edge, it does a straight line. So that works really well there. Now let's paint this area. So that's the hardest part, is the edges of things. And there are, like, I could have used that image as a background and then not go to this trouble, but I like to do this just because I have more control later on when I'm combining the images. So this is just the workflow that I like. So that's looking good. Okay, there we go. Let's zoom out. And I have 3 already. So let's keep moving on. Now let's see what this one is, that one. So I have to do the same thing, Option, and then click here. And I know I'm here. Remember, if you don't remember what it is, where it is, just lower this a little bit so you can remember where it was. And that way you can be more precise. So I'm going to do that. Okay. Make sure that you go to the edges so you don't leave like a halo or anything like that. This part right here, I can overpaint it. I don't have to be too meticulous because I know that I'm not going to hit the other person right there, or myself in this case. That looks good. Now that I do that, now I can go back to 100. Now let's go to the other one, which is this one. Okay, so now it's going to get interesting because now I have this image right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do option and do that. Okay, and I'm going to lower the opacity of density of this one. So I know that I have to paint this guy right here. And there we go. Now later on, I'm going to have to zoom in and really see how the edges are and all that. But for now, I'm doing it kind of quickly. Now I have this one right here. Option, hide it. So that one is this guy right here, right? The one that I just got erased. So I'm going to lower the opacity so I can see where he starts. So I'm actually going to do it bigger because I think there's some shadow of my leg that I want to make sure I also bring that. So that's there. And here. Now, this is the part that I was explaining. So right now I'm painting here. You see that nothing happens. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. And I did that on purpose. So that way you can see how the order of the layers matters a lot. Okay. So now I have this. It's not perfect, but I just want to point out one thing. So I have this layer right here. But if I go to this one, which is that one right here, it's on top, right? So it's covering it. Now what I'm going to do is going to bring this one underneath. Okay, so that one, this one's on top. Now I can finish painting this one. Is it? No, I did the wrong one. So I need to paint that guy, this mask right here. Okay. So I'm going to finish doing this one, make sure it's good. And then I'm going to go in and zoom in and really like fix all this stuff. So to do that, what I'm going to do right here, just so you can get an idea how my mask looks, I'm going to press option and click on my mask, and that's how it looks, right? But now I need to make it perfect at the edges. So I'm going to make this brush smaller. I'm going to flip it to black, right? So I can start revealing the other one. And I'm going to go to the edges here. I'm going to go here. And it's I think as I get closer, I have to go smaller with my brush. Okay, so I'm going to make my brush smaller. And do this. Okay, that's looking good. Now I'm going to go even smaller because this area right here is going to be really tricky, and you have to have patience on how you do this. Let's make it bigger first so I can cover this area faster. And I'm going to do this kind of fast because I don't want to be here forever and bore you guys looking at me doing this. But if I really want to take my time doing this, I would do a better job. So right now I'm just like trying to see if I can get more detail here and get rid of that white halo. There we go. It's looking better. Okay. I don't really like that, but it's okay. It's looking close enough. All right. So right here, let's see how this looks. I want to get rid of that white area that's showing up there. And then here, I'll show you at the end how we're going to fix that. I'm not going to be worried too much about this hair because later on, we're going to go with refine mask and fix any issues that I see on my hair here. But for now, that looks pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out. So that was that one. And that's one of the hardest ones. So now we go to this one, which is me right there. Sweeping. So I'm going to add another mask. Option, remember, option, and you click on the mask. So that way it's black and you cover it. And now the only thing you have to do is reveal yourself. So I'm going to go here and paint with white. And I'm going to paint myself. And the density works really well because, you can go quicker and see where you need to paint without trying to guess. This I need to make sure I get the shadow, this corner, the edge, and the brim all the way down here. Okay. Let's see. That looks weird. Oh, because the opacity. Let's see. Yeah, it looks good. Okay. It's just that it looks a little bit fainted. I don't know if it's from this image. So let me double check that. Yep, that's what it is. Okay, so here, this one, it was covering the broom a little bit. So I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I'm going to paint it with black. There we go. Now it looks darker. Okay. Now it's working. Okay. My OCD kicking in. Okay. So now that I have all that, now let's go to this one. Same thing, option, click here, and I'm going to reveal it with the white. Okay. And again, let's do the density. So because this one is overlapping the other one, so I have to make sure that I don't ruin anything. Okay, there we go. That's looking good. You see that pillow? That's a problem. But don't worry, we're going to fix that. And what's a problem too is that I have the other image over this one. So now we have to move things around. Okay, so that's going to help us a little bit understand how the hierarchy is really important when you're creating this. So that's that right there. So I'm going to go to 100, and now I have to figure out, right, that this one right here, the one on the top, I need to move it, right, down. So to do that, I'm going to drag this all the way down here so it's behind that one. So now I have to fix this part right here. So I'm going to go here and zoom in, and I need to make sure I'm in the right layer. So it's not, it's this one. Okay. So I'm going to go here to my mask and select the brush, make it smaller. Now, since I want to get rid of this white and it's on that layer, I need to paint with black to conceal it, right? So I'm going to make it bigger so I can go faster. And just don't judge too much my skill right now because I'm trying to rush it. So you can get the idea. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to make it smaller and zoom in. Now I'm going to try to like make sure I can do this. It's a good job. Now this part right here, I want to make sure that I don't have any halo. That's good. And then here, let's make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to go around. So you see that white halo, I don't want that. Oh, but I don't want a hole. So that's as good as a mouse. I can repaint it. Oh, actually, that's how it is. Interesting. Yeah, like if I do that and then I take it off, let's see. Let's make it a little bit bigger so that way it's more diffused. There we go. That's looking better. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect because we're zooming in here at 500%. So when we zoom out, you know, if it's a very tiny bit, you're not going to notice it, you know. So that's why it's important that you zoom in when you're working, okay? You're not, you know, doing all this from far away because that's when you really notice things in Photoshop when you're working, zooming out, and you're like, oh yeah, this looks great. And you print it, and then it's like, oh no. Then you notice all this stuff. So that's why I always tell people you need to be at least 300%. That's the minimum. I usually work a lot more zoomed in. But that's just how I work. Some people don't do that because I want. There we go. That's looking better. All right, a little bit here. A little more on the hair there. There we go. That went away. Okay, that's looking good enough for now. Actually, now that I notice, I realized that my brush was a little bit too big. So I didn't even realize what was my radius in that. I should have done it a little bit smaller because the bigger the brush is, since I have no hardness right now, controls like how soft it is, and then it looks too soft and it looks kind of fake. So you want to make sure that you have some softness, but not too much because then it will be too obvious. So I think now it's starting to look, you basically have to look at other areas, how sharp they are, so you can decide how much you need. That's look a little bit better. Oh, and that one took me a while. That was probably the hardest one so far. Okay, so now we go to this one and do the same thing, option, click there. And I know that I'm over here somewhere. There we are. And that's good because it doesn't overlap, only a little bit here. But that one will be easier than the one that we just did. Okay, so I want to reveal myself, paint around. I'm going to go from the middle And then when I get to the edge, I'm going to zoom in and make sure that I have a good brush size. Again, I'm doing the brush size with the left and right bracket key to make sure that it's a decent size. Now this one is on top, so now I actually have to fix it on the other one that's on top. So I'm going to paint here, even though we don't see it. And then I'm going to go to this picture. I'm going to press V for Victor, Command and click, so that way I can go to that one. And I'm going to paint this mask with black to conceal that part. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit more because I want this to look good. Okay, so, not too small. Wrong key. Brush, and let's make it a little bit bigger. No, a little bit smaller. You know, there are other ways of doing this. If you have a selection already with the pen tool or with the quick select tool, I'm doing it with the brush because that's what I taught already. I taught you guys already, so I want you to practice how to use the brush. And this is a great exercise to learn how to use the brush well for the masking. So now that I have all that, let's see what else I have. I can raise the opacity of this mask because it's not all the way. Yeah. Now it's at 100. Okay. So now we're going to work with this one right here, which is, okay, that one, option, click on the mask, so it's black. I'm going to lower the density. So now I know it's this one right here. I'm going to select my brush, make sure it's bigger. This one, there's nothing close, which is good because that means I can go quicker. I can like take all this stuff right here really quickly, and I don't have to worry about anything that's overlapping. So that one was easy. Okay, next one. Okay, so now we go to this one, which is the last one. And I think that should wrap it up because it's in the background. And let's zoom out to make sure I didn't miss anything. We have to fix that pillow. And if I do that one, there's nothing. Oh, the leg. I noticed something right here. Okay, so now we have to fix this one. This one I'm actually not going to move it from the layer. I'm actually going to, well, did I just paint it? Yes, I did. There was no mask there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have to fix this one. I'm going to press Command and click on it so that way I can get to it quicker. And this one right here is the one that's actually on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint with the brush on black so I can hide the picture that's on top from this shoe right here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to zoom in to make sure I do that part well. And there we go. That's looking good. Perfect. Okay, so now I have that fixed. Let's see if I miss anything else. When you do this, you want to make sure that you zoom in because that's when you notice if things are overlapping or anything like that. I feel like this has to be fixed in this area. This, I don't know if it's from the glare or if it's from the mask. Let me make sure. So, okay, so I have to work on this one. Oh, no, it's not, you see? So right there, we need to fix that. So I need to hide it from this picture with black. There we go. Okay, that's something that I needed to fix. Let's see, this one has something weird there. Let's see what happens with that one. What about this one? Okay, it's not running that one. Okay. Now let's fix this pillow here. I now have to figure out which pillow I want from what picture. So that's going to be interesting. So that one, interesting. That one's adding something there. So I don't want that. I'm going to hide that from here. I'm going to zoom in. Make sure that I don't get any of that pillow from that picture down here. You can actually go overboard and do that and then redo that part. So that way guaranteeing that you're not, runky. I'm going to make it a little bigger so I can go faster. I'm going to click here and then go here. I'm doing this by holding down shift. Makes a straight line. It makes it go quicker. Okay, so that looks good now. Okay, so now we have to figure out which pillow of this one to use. I'm going to have to go one by one because there's so many masks right now on layers. That's just clicking whatever the computer. Oh, wait, I noticed something there. There's something here. Huh. So it's not that one. It's this one. I need to make sure I brush this part. So it's good that you get in the habit of clicking through the layers and see what happens in case you notice anything like that that's coming up. Okay, that one is adding a little bit of pillow here. So I'm going to make sure that I take it away with the black. It's this one right here. Okay, I'm going to take the pillow away from there. Okay, now let's see what else. Oh, that one's adding something. I'm going to take that away from there. Okay, so what that means is I went through all of these already. That this one is the one that's doing that. So I need to fix that one. Okay, so let's see how it looks. So without it, I might just add it then. Erase this with the brush with black. I might just do that. It will be quicker. So instead of putting the actual pillow from that picture, I'm just going to add this one from the background image. I think it will work better. It will be quicker because the rest of the pillow is already this. Okay. That looks decent. Okay. Let's zoom out, see how that looks. That looks pretty good. Let's see if I miss anything. That looks good. That looks good. Okay, so zoom out. So here we go. So now we have our final composition. I'm going to look at this carefully a little bit more to make sure I did it right. But at least at a glance, it looks like it's okay and there's nothing overlapping wrong. I would, the part that I was going to mention is if you want to fix, like, let's say something like that, the hair, or like here, but it looks pretty good actually. If you want to take some of that white out, basically what you do is you select that layer, which is this one, right? And you're going to go to the mask. And when you go to the mask, if you go to the properties, you have to select a mask, or you can just double click in here. And it takes you to the mask. And what you can do in here with the refine edge, this one, the refine brush, which is the second one, and with smart radius on, you can go here and make it just a little bit bigger, like that. And you see that how it kind of like makes the detail of the hair appear. I don't need it over here because it's not overlapping with the other picture. So I only need it really down here because this is just the original picture. I can do it a little bit there, but and I'm going to press OK. So you see now light go through the hair right there. Sometimes it does things like a little bit funky, so you have to be careful with that. But that's just one thing I wanted to show you in case you needed that. And now overall, you probably want to add like a curve and fix the overall image. But I hope that this was helpful, so you can get like a nice, composite of your, daily life, what you do, your routines, and this one I try to, make it fun and have like different things that I do, like sitting in the computer, like reading a book and playing games, things like that, cleaning. It's almost like you're interacting with yourself. And one of the things that you should consider is like, how do you take advantage of that? Like this one was like smiling, talking to him, but he's ignoring me, or try to like make it so you are interacting with each other. Just realize there's something here. Let's see real quick. Yeah, so this layer right here, I have to fix that. So the brush, let's make it bigger and delete that. You see, that's what I mean, that you have to look at it carefully at the end. You can't just like throw everything in there and just hope for the best. You have to go in. One other way is if you click on the mask while holding Option, you can see the mask. And that is really helpful because you can see if there's any gaps. You know, this part I'm not going to touch because that's like the details that I did. But if there's any holes, you will notice. Like if there's something kind of obvious. Those are funny. Oh, option. Oh, this one, for example. You see there is a little bit of white there, and there shouldn't be any. So that will fix that. And then Command 0, and then make sure, okay, that looks good. So option, click here. Things like now, it's a little bit better. So there you go. So that's the lab for creating a composite. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, just let me know. I think I cover everything I wanted. One of the things that you have to do at the end is obviously like the normal adjustments layers that you would do to your images. Now you can flatten it and save it and share it with people. Okay, so this is what I had to offer today. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.